You're listening to Were You Still Talking?
Sure.
I keep it, I might not.
Sure.
Never know what I keep. Let's see. So I'll do a quick intro and just wait till I ask you a question and then start blabbing. All right, so welcome back. Today I'm in the studio. I have Cameron Lindsey. He's actually related to my last guest. He's what I refer to as a young person because he's less than half of my age. I taught him drums just a couple years ago, like 10, and he's grown 100 feet since then, at least 10 years. We'll just say 10. So he is now a college student. He has traveled all over the world. At least he's lived in Hawaii for a minute. And has some thoughts about maybe starting a podcast one day. So we might talk about that. But first of all, I'm going to ask him, are you fucking crazy?
Am I crazy?
Yeah, I saw a post you posted recently about a certain television show.
You're right. Okay.
So I hope all of your 10,000 followers have seen it.
My 10,000. Yeah, no. Sooner or later, hopefully it'll be 10,000. But right now it's on Facebook, if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm referring to the GOT.
Yeah.
The GOT. You got me on that one. I almost chimed in and I said, oh, screw it. If his friends don't.
Well, I knew we were gearing up for the pod, and I kind of, I was, in the back of my head, I was kind of hoping you would chime in a little bit just to give us a little bit of a,
all right,
of a pre-conversation to start with. But here we are. So,
well, I'll chime in before it posts.
Sure.
Before the podcast is out.
Sure.
I was just gonna say, I'm glad I watched the show, or I'd have to kill you.
Well, it's funny.
It's not like you gave away the ending, or oh yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. Well, here's the thing. So, I guess there was a little bit of like some sort of twisted, kind of screwed up point of view from where I'm coming from, because I have actually been behind the entire time, and I started watching the show about 3 months ago. I watched the first season probably 2 years ago, and then I knew that this last season was coming up, so I picked up from the second season and crushed it in about 2.5 months, but I landed just short of the finale. So the finale for me came a few days later. Anyways, pretty much everything had been spoiled for me.
Oh,
so I felt like, selfishly, I felt like I had to kind of stab the world.
What the hell? Yeah. I'm going to spoil it for anyone else who hasn't seen it.
Hurt people, right?
Hurt people.
So.
And the few people I know who haven't seen the finale and are thinking of watching it, they haven't even started watching it. So by the time they get there, they'll not even know who that is. They'll be totally lost again.
Well, and see, they're doing it right, because I did it probably the worst way you possibly can, where I didn't wait for the last season to end before I decided to start watching or catch up. So it's kind of like you should probably do it one way or the other, where you should just wait for all the spoilers to kind of chill and then begin the show, Yeah. Whereas like I kind of got right in the middle there, where I watched as the last season was airing, I was watching seasons 6 and 7. So any,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any commercial or banner thing I saw on Twitter or Facebook or whatever really ruined the last season for me as it was.
Oh, that sucks. Because, I was shocked how few people told me anything, because I was in the same boat. I didn't have HBO because it's ridiculously expensive. So I, at the time that season 8 came out, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back and watch 7 and remember what the hell's going on. And then maybe I'll figure out and then I'll just order it for a month, because now I can order it for a month, which is cool. So about, I think, 2 shows into the season, I'm like, I got to watch this. I got to see what's going on.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's not true. It was 6 shows in. There was already 6 available. And I was really shocked how few people had thrown spoilers out there. And then now that the show's over, I followed Dinklage on not Twitter. What's the Instagram?
Instagram.
And I'm like, you asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, he gives away everything.
Yeah. I mean, but isn't that Tyrion though?
Yes. Well, that kind of is. I guess that's true.
I mean, come on.
Kind of is.
If you're
that's
in
a good
character,
point.
well, if you're in
That's
character
a good
for
point.
that long, don't you kind of become that person?
I guess you would. Yeah.
We saw what happened with Heath
method.
Ledger, so
right.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Not to sour our conversation or anything.
He would have been great in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Well, kind of back to that though. Yeah, if that does spoil it for anyone, then I'm sorry. But at the same time, if you're hopping on Facebook, Twitter, whatever during the airing or the post airing of a finale, I think that it's kind of fair game. You have to know that there's probably going to be spoilers out there. I could have put a little bit of a spoiler alert, asterisk, but once someone sees Game of Thrones, they should probably just keep scrolling and close their eyes.
They should. Yeah, it's a good point.
I've been doing it the past few months. So.
I guess my friends are just nice because they've all made it very. Although, well, actually, now that it's interesting because when I've read posts and thought, well, that doesn't give anything away. Now that I've watched it, I know, oh, that did give something away, but it didn't matter because I didn't know at the time, and I was very. It's interesting. I've got a guy I work with who he'll never listen to this, so I can talk about him. He's a fanatic. He read the books, and so he's one of these guys that I'm sure would sign or have signed the petition to redo season 8. Okay. He knew every piece of history. He knew everything about it. I could not even keep up with this conversation. Yeah, and so he was like, it's funny because he was saying everything that was wrong with season 8, and I was like, so why did you watch it? Oh, I liked it. Yeah. I liked it. It was amazing. Because I didn't read the books and I'm not, boy, I thought it was fine. I thought it was incredible.
Well, season 8. Yeah.
And
I mean, it's still quality viewing.
Right.
It's still quality viewing. I thought the 3rd and the 5th episode, both of the wars, first the one at Winterfell and then the one at King's Landing, I thought both those episodes were freaking great. Mm-hmm. As messed up as it is, I love how Dany ended up burning the capital and kind of fulfilling her father's vision of the Mad King, and how he was going to go the whole... Right,
yeah, and I heard about... I was very... I wasn't sure about that, but it does make sense. It did, yeah. She definitely was...
And she was losing her sanity as time went, And
her two of her kids were just killed. Mm-hmm. They were murdered by the people... she was blaming everyone for those 2 murders. So, what I didn't get is why she didn't burn Cersei. Because it's like, did she not see her standing there?
That was, just kind of one of the few, what I thought were like gaping plot holes in I don't know.
Well, apparently it goes along with the book.
Sure.
There's a description in the book of how they're found. And so that's why, I guess, why. That's what I found out from my workmate. I don't know a darn thing about it.
I should ask you and see if you agree with this. I was kind of thinking about this in depth the other night after watched the episode, but kind of felt like, I feel like so many shows or movies can really disappoint book readers, but books rarely, if ever, disappoint movie or show watchers. Like no one ever really watches the show or the movie and then goes and reads the book and say, wow, the book really screwed this up in the movie. This is what happened, And that might be because the filming normally comes after the book is written or whatever. But that's why, credit to my mother, who was just on the show last week. Credit to her. She always, whatever it is, she'll watch it first and then read the book afterwards because she feels like you can kind of only go up from there.
I think that's really, really good advice for anybody. And if you have read the book, just realize the movie is not that. I saw an interview with one of my favorite authors, John Grisham, who just kind of recently I got into, and he was talking about he never is upset with the movies that are made from his books because when he sells them, he walks away.
Yeah,
he's like, that's not my book anymore.
Yeah.
That's their movie.
Right.
It's a whole different thing. And more people need to realize that and have that attitude. It's like, no, that's not the book.
Yeah.
Right now I'm watching Catch-22 on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a movie of this book in the 70s, I think, and the original movie is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very kind of scratching my head. It's an incredible book, and several other phrases come from the book besides Catch-22. But I was very nervous about how they would do with and it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Yeah, have
Good.
you heard of that Catch-22?
Faintly.
Okay,
maybe.
Yeah. Worth a watch.
Yeah,
worth a look.
I know I've heard a lot about John Grisham, and I mean, somebody I got to check out. You know.
Oh, John Grisham. Yeah, he's another amazing. He did. There's only a handful. He's one of these guys that writes like mad. He's only writes half as many books as Stephen King, but still, writes a lot of books.
Well, so he writes about 1,000 books a year then.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay. Not 2,000.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone can write that much and still have, put out quality books.
Yeah.
And they're not all quality, but mostly really amazing.
So there's just something I kind of wanted to jump back to and mention. Though you mentioned the HBO subscription dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I actually have my best buddy Zach. I have his subscription, and he just gives me his password. And
you don't want to say that on a podcast?
Oh well, 15 other people already have it. So
you don't want to say that. Just don't say his last name.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
It's fine by me. They might come after your friend. What did you say his name was?
Yeah,
Tim?
Right.
Tim?
Yeah. I mean, I've ran it by him a couple times, but that password's long gone, man.
That's definitely the way to get HBO, in my opinion. I think I'm really pissed at entertainment companies for overpricing themselves so much. I think I don't know what their deal is.
But they have no rules saying you can't, pass along a password to somebody else for the.
Oh yeah, they do.
It doesn't seem like it. I mean,
if you read what's something called a user agreement that no one reads,
okay,
then they do.
All right.
That's something called that's copyright infringement in reality. Yeah.
Right.
But people don't read user agreements, so they don't know. That is not actually legal. But we won't worry about that.
All right.
What the hell? We're rebels.
Yeah.
So actually, you don't have 10,000 social media followers, but you have almost 800
on Facebook.
That's a lot.
Half of those are bots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like
you say hello to you say yes to every bot.
3 out of every 4 friend requests I get now is some person I've never heard of.
Oh, and you just take them all, whatever.
Well, I guess I started not doing that because of experience where, at first I wondered, well, is this somebody that I just met in crossing and don't remember their name or whatever? But it's pretty easy to sniff out now if you go to their profile and see they have 6 friends and 5 of those people are people you also know. It's kind of a telling sign that this person probably doesn't actually exist.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's just interesting. It's a good if you do want to start a podcast though. It's good to have 700 friends. It's a good place to start.
Yeah,
and you have somebody to promote it to.
Whether that's 700 people who actually would give half a shit and listen to what I have to say, it's a different conversation. But I mean, at least they're there,
Even every time you post on Facebook, if you have 700 people, it probably goes out to about 30.
Uh-huh.
I have 200 people, but I know them all so that I connect with them more. So I probably get about 15 to 20 people who see my posts. That's why, and that's why someone like, if someone like yourself who interacts with me, you'll see every single post that I post, but most people don't. That's why I'm trying to post. I feel like I'm over posting about the podcast, but probably not to most people.
I don't know. From we have a 2 weeks history of being friends at best, so I haven't noticed that you've been posting too much. I don't know. I think.
Oh, okay. And in those 2 weeks,
I wouldn't say so.
Good. I'll keep doing it. Yeah. I'll post more.
Yeah.
You've listened to half a podcast?
Yeah, I listened to half of my mom's, and then she got home, and I don't think she wanted to re-listen to her own podcast, so
okay,
I cut it. Yeah,
I understand that,
but I'll probably check out the second half.
Cool. So what would you're sort of toying with the idea of having a podcast? You said when you saw all this fancy equipment, and again, I will reiterate on the podcast, I have I have far more equipment than you need to do a podcast because I'm a drummer and I have a 16-channel board, which is totally unnecessary. But anyhow, what would your podcast be about?
Well, okay, so when I got home from Hawaii, I decided that I wanted to finish out school, and I declared as a journalism student, kind of following in the same footsteps as a few of my friends, but, also, I don't know, I have an interest in broadcasting. I started listening to podcasts myself a few years ago, and I'm somebody who is, I'm genuinely passionate about the things that I do in my everyday life, whether that's music or watch TV. I'm very much into sports, increasingly just kind of getting more and more into science and, further learning. And so, and I'm kind of a yapper. I really like to kind of run my mouth and talk a lot. And I thought, there's lots of conversations where I'd find myself kind of talking too much, or at least feeling like I'm talking too much. And I realized some people don't enjoy holding out conversations sometimes as long as I do. And so I thought, well, I might as well start recording what I have to say and then just kind of see where this goes. And but anyways, I thought it could kind of intertwine with my studies of journalism. I'm going to kind of, once I pop over to U of O and hopefully get accepted into the school, I'm going to kind of focus on the broadcasting side of things. And so I just think just trying things out, life is just kind of trial and error. And the more and more that you kind of just investigate different ideas that you have, I think eventually you'll find some gold. So broadcasting is something that I definitely want to at least try out on my own, just to kind of get a feel for if it's, something that I would want to do for the rest of my life or not.
That's awesome. You have a great voice for podcasting. I mean, you have a good voice for broadcasting.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about podcasts is that you can do it for free, although I am spending money because
yeah, I can see that.
It happens.
Some really nice stuff in here.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot of that was money already spent. So,
right.
But if you went out and bought this, you'd be spending a lot of money. But I'm spending a little money to put my podcast on a hosting site, which is not necessary. You can actually do it for almost next to nothing. You do need a decent microphone at least. But there's even free, like I was showing you the Pro Tools software that I have. And, if Pro Tools wants to sponsor me, I'll start talking about that more. But you can get free software to do the same thing, almost the same thing, not quite. But you can get, for a podcast, especially if you do a podcast on your own, and you just, jabber about stuff you like, it's pretty interesting. And I ran into a friend that I hadn't seen for a long time, and she heard I was doing a podcast, and she listens to a podcast it's like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Guy does it every day, but he just does it for a few minutes. I mean, I expected mine to be a 30-minute podcast, but most of them, because I'm getting such incredibly interesting people in here, most of them are going over. If I have, I could totally see doing more than an hour with, if I have, I don't know, a big celebrity in here or something. I would try and get as much out of them as possible.
I think it's better to let the conversation flow than to cut it off.
Yeah, good. Me too. And I read an interesting blog about, it was by the people who promote podcasts, and it said, how long should your podcast be? And the real answer was, well, as long as your guest is interesting, or as long as it's interesting. And I thought, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I
think that sounds like a solid kind of rule.
If you're bored, it's time to end the podcast.
Yeah.
But, if it's still an interesting conversation, that seems like a really good rule.
Well, I mean, isn't this just what we do regularly, except for, we're right in front of a mic?
Exactly.
And it's sort of like, you know, there's conversations in real life, kind of, I think there's a mutual understanding of when they kind of get dull.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. And and it's hard to know whether your listener will be interested or not. I assume if they're listening to your podcast, they're probably semi-interested in. Mm-hmm. And, everyone in the world will be interested in my podcast because I say Joe Rogan and stuff like that, and Russell Brand. And so,
You practice that, don't you?
No, I don't. I am trying to get a Russell Brand imitation going, but it's not happening yet.
That's a tough one.
If you listen to the whole series of podcasts, you'll hear me talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're a sports fan. You're a big Lakers fan, I see.
Yeah, no. No, I don't hate the Lakers. I mean, this is as somebody who has kind of been tormented by the Lakers for the majority of my life, and their success. It doesn't bother me to see that program in shambles right now.
It's not hurting your feelings at all.
No, not really. I mean, they need to go through some suffering. It's healthy for each fan to kind of suck for a little bit. We get as a Blazer fan, we get our fair share of that, except for as of late under the Damian Lillard brigade. We haven't been playing very bad, and we've been actually having a lot of success. So it's kind of cool to see the script flipped a little bit there.
Definitely. Always good to see the Blazers do well. I'm actually I watched the Niners, and nice. I'm having some difficult years.
Yeah, well,
to say the least.
Well, they finally got a good running back and quarterback, and they both, tear their ACLs within the first few weeks. So
yeah,
I mean,
and it's still it's kind of debatable how good the quarterback is.
Yeah, welcome to a walk in the Blazer neighborhood. I mean,
exactly.
Talking about knees, man. Yeah.
So you played in high school. Did you play after that?
I actually didn't. My brother played at LCC and did a really good job there. And however, no, I didn't. After high school, I didn't play any actually organized basketball afterwards. And yeah, it's kind of a regret of mine. I mean, looking at, I know some people. I played on a city league team this year, and played with some really really talented kids. But I didn't think that they're a ton better than I was. That's up for debate, but there wasn't too much of a gap there. And both of them had played, at least community college basketball. So I kind of thought, well, if they could have done it, then I probably could have done it too. So
yeah, well, that's great. Because that's what that was going to be my next question. Is there still places to play? So there is. That's cool.
Yeah, well, it's not quite like I wish basketball was more like baseball, because baseball there's tons of semi-pro leagues and stuff, and another very very close friend of mine just left to California to go play semi-pro baseball. And he's kind of doing it just right out of college, because he was just in Kansas playing college baseball. And now he's playing for a team in Monterey where it's kind of just like the community team. And, they pay him pretty much a tiny little bit of money to play. But he still gets to play and compete.
Like the M's?
Yeah.
I'm always confused about the M's.
Well, the M's are short season single A baseball. And so that's with the MLB, though. So that's... So there's short season single A, and then long season single A, and then there's double A, triple A, majors.
Oh, for the people listening to this in Japan and Australia, the M's is our local baseball team.
That is our local baseball.
The baseball team
won
in
a couple
Eugene, Oregon.
back-to-back championships. I'm pretty sure. So.
Right, they've done. Yeah, they've done really well.
Watching them play
as soon as you stop watching. So you lived in Hawaii for a little bit. Me and my domestic partner, we have dreams of moving to Hawaii. Why did you leave?
Well, I have a friend who referred me to a youth hostel out there, and I'd noticed other people kind of hopping on this trend where they might not have a ton of money to spend, but they still want to get out there. And she had told me that she, had spent relatively very little money. But this hostel kind of allows an opportunity where, you talk to them and you say, I'll give you 20 hours of work per week. And in exchange, they'll give you a bed and some food to eat. So I went ahead and contacted them, and it was kind of a piece of cake. They just said, yeah, come on out, and, we'll give you a bed and just clean up around here for 20 hours and you can stay here. And, we have complimentary breakfast. There's farmers markets for cheap food if, you need your essentials, your veggies and fruits. And so I was at a point where I was living in Portland and kind of just, working in breweries, taverns, dispensaries, whatever. And none of that was really doing it for me. So I just, kind of said, fuck it, and bailed.
Awesome. That's cool. And where were you? Were you on Oahu?
Kauai.
Kauai.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Town of Kapa'a.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Beautiful little town.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty special place in my heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very, very nice spot.
Yeah.
That's like all jungle, isn't it? That island's mostly jungle.
It's very, very jungly.
Yeah.
It's the Indiana Jones and the Jurassic Park island. So.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed a little bit of one of those. Oh, no, it was Jurassic Park. They filmed like a scene on the Big Island. We go to the Big Island a lot.
Yeah. Nice.
And, yeah. So that's nice because you can have a wet jungle or you can have a dry sort of desert area.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I've been there too, and that's
okay.
kind of what I remember. The Kona side was kind of deserty, and the Hilo side was a little bit more like Eugene, where it's pretty much rainy all the time. And the nice thing about there is it's never really like, even if it's raining, it just feels like a warm shower.
Yeah, I know. That's what I love about
Hawaii. You can
Hawaii.
go to the beach on a rainy day.
Yeah, right. You can go snorkeling when it's raining. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
You can't see as well, but it's nice. We always went to the dry side because we're not big fans of the rain because we got spoiled living in Los Angeles. But it's great to be able to do both. To be able to just go, you drive for like 37 minutes and you're in the jungle, and it's like it's the jungle. You can get as deep as you want.
Well, exactly. And another reason why I really like Kauai is because I really hunted for that super, super true islandy feel. Mm-hmm. The Big Island, that was, it's a great place to be, but it didn't really feel like an island to me when I was on it because it really covered a good amount of area. And what I loved about Kauai is like you can drive around the entire island in like a couple hours.
Right.
Maybe 3 hours. But that to me really had that true like remote island feel to it. Mm-hmm. And that is what, like, I loved that you could just hike a peak and you could see a beach on the south and a beach on the north.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I want to check out all the other islands. I've only been to 2 of them, and one of them I went to when I was 19. Well, other than landing at the airports, but that's always nice too when you land there and like, whoa, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. So I have a list of questions.
Okay,
for every guest. I'm going to try a couple. I'm going to try a couple of those.
Q&A here.
A little Q&A. As you know, I'm still very new at this. However, I'm almost done with season 1.
Nice.
Which I think I'll talk about in my.
I'm glad to know that I'm a finale episode here.
Yeah. Well, almost. Oh, the big finale. The big finale.
The big finale
is the girls' night out.
Oh God!
It's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna have all 4.
Dude, you should fake an injury, man.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. This will show whether I can really,
Is my aunt gonna be here for that?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, no, she's gonna be. Your aunt's gonna be like this.
Oh, you guys are streaming her.
Gonna be like that.
God.
And everyone's gonna. I bought this little device. I'm pointing to a headphone amp. I bought this because I'm going to need 4 headphones because they won't be able to hear your aunt if they don't have headphones on. So Trina's going to have to suffer, or she could not listen to her sister. Either way,
she can buck up and do it.
It's
She's
not
a
big
girl.
deal to have headphones on. I have some lighter ones too that aren't as noticeable.
Yeah,
it's like okay.
It's all about adapting, right?
Exactly. It's all about adapting. But that'll be fun. They've been doing that. It just amazes me that they've been doing that for so long. I mean, they've been doing that since before you were born, and they're still doing it. I mean, they don't go out to dinner every time, but they go to Palm Springs and
they're actually they're more fun to hang out with than I ever would have thought of. I remember I went to a girls' night out dinner. It was like maybe a year ago. I was visiting from Portland, and I hadn't seen my mom in forever, so I was like, screw it, I'm coming to girls' night out. And so I remember going though, and Angela and Elizabeth were cracking me up, and obviously I got dinner paid for, so that was cool. But
well, that's the best reason to go.
Exactly. That was the root. That was the root idea. But then I actually ended up really enjoying myself. So that's gonna be an interesting episode for sure.
I think it'll be very interesting. 4.
Yeah, 4.
There'll be 4 of them. Yeah, they will be
the
4.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Including the one on the phone, which that'll be fun. It'll be, for one, it's a technical challenge. So what the heck?
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me try some of these questions.
Let's go.
Do you like turtles?
The animals or the restaurant?
Oh, that's good. Either one.
I like both.
Either one.
The restaurant a little more than the animal, but yeah.
The next couple of questions I already asked you. Oh, wow. I'm all into that. Oh, so I didn't ask you this. You mentioned you listen to a lot of podcasts. Like, what do you like? Who do you like?
Well, so I'm really kind of like a mystery buff. So the first one, besides all the sports ones that I could talk about, which are kind of bland because it's all just sports shit, it's all just guys blurting their opinions. The sports ones are the first ones I got into, mainly Bill Simmons. I kind of hate his podcast now because he kind of said some not very nice things about the Blazers. And so I kind of abandoned him. But no, so I listened to one called Up and Vanished that a Facebook friend put me onto. And that was like a total mystery one where this kid started his own podcast and he kind of dug into the biggest, quote, biggest mystery in Georgia. And he went down to this town where this girl had disappeared and they just never figured it out. She just disappeared from her house one day. No one ever found her. And he's kind of started digging around the town. And as the series goes on, I don't want to say too much about it for those who haven't listened, but he actually ends up making an impact in the case. And by starting this podcast. So it'd be like if you found a case that really interested you and you went out to, let's say, say you went out to the Dalles or something because it was a really small town and you just kind of started nosing around and recording people talking and then you made an impact on an open case mystery. That's really interesting because there's one that I've probably mentioned on this podcast at least 3 times called S-Town that I think you would really like. Have you ever heard that? Yep.
Yeah.
Shit-Town. That was
it's
I need to listen to that
amazing because you don't know what's going on.
No.
I mean, from the very first moment, you're like, this is so bizarre. But, what made it so interesting was not just the story, but the guy is just so interesting to listen to. He
is.
He just
sounded like one of those types that was just kind of I'm not going to say evil genius, but just kind of, he was mad, but he sounded brilliant.
Right.
He sounded very brilliant.
Right.
He sounded like somebody who not only thinks outside the box, but like miles outside the box.
Yeah. And you don't know. You're like, okay, is he crazy?
Well, and what was it that he hid? He hid really? Something and couldn't find it again or something.
I'm not going to get in. And I don't want to give anything because when a friend of mine said, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. It was the first podcast I'd ever listened to. I finally was going on a trip. I was going to Seattle or something. So I'm like, okay, I'll listen. And just immediately I was like, oh, this is incredible. Yeah. This is like, I shouldn't be surprised because it's an NPR production. Yeah. And I know they know what they're doing. But I really liked not knowing about the story really helped. And especially as it goes on and it unfolds and it like takes a big turn and you're just going, what the? Yeah. Shit-Town. Good one. Anyway.
Whenever, just to touch on that for a sec though, I feel like whenever you go into something with really just no expectations, that's where you really get the quality, either viewing or listening, whether it's a movie, a podcast, whatever. If you have zero expectation for it, that's where I've found that I enjoy those experiences the most. And I don't know if you can relate to that.
I can relate to that a lot. Not only zero expectations, but a lot of times I've had a really good experience when I've had less than zero expectations. What was the movie I just watched? Game Night. Game Night looked like really dumb. I just thought, this is another really stupid movie.
Yeah.
And
that's got Bateman, right?
Yeah,
that's my guy.
It's got Bateman in it.
My guy.
And it was because I had zero expectations. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not a genius movie, but it's fun. It's really funny.
Yeah,
it's well done.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. Having low expectations often helps, and it's still. I mean, I totally agree. When you've read a book, it's harder to watch something. It's much easier to read the book after if you're going to read it. It's good to read books. Read books, kiddies.
Well, and on the contrary to that statement I made earlier, one of the best parts about reading a book is kind of making up your own idea of what people look like, or you get your own fix on a character. However, like I remember like Series of Unfortunate Events, which is kind of like the kids' books, even though they're fun to read as an adult. But I remember when the movie came out, I was so upset that the boy and the girl didn't look like I had pictured them. And I just remember that feeling. I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never watching a movie after I'd read the series and loved it, because it just kind of not quite ruined it for me, but I couldn't read the books after that.
Oh, that's interesting. That's too bad. And I mean, that happens so much with comic books. I mean, comic book movies are the biggest thing in the world right now. But when they first started coming out, when Batman came out with Michael Keaton, there was a lot of, he's not 225 pounds.
Yeah.
That guy cannot be Batman. And then the movie, I mean, it comes out and it's amazing. It's funny. It's fun. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's Michael Keaton. Yeah. He is Batman now.
Totally.
Get over it.
Yeah. And that's, I guess that's the proactive way to approach it. But, so I guess when you watch a movie or a series first and then read the books, you don't get that like kind of special place in your head where you got to make up these characters or whatever. But at least you're not doing it the other way where your entire idea of these characters you've already made up just gets ruined.
It's true. Yeah. And that is
hard. You got
to
pick one of the poisons, right?
You got to pick one of the poisons. Yeah. I actually worked on a cartoon called The Tick. You ever heard of The Tick?
No.
And it's a cartoon based on a comic book, and the comic book is more in the realm of adult humor. A lot of it is more adult humor. So the show had to slice the hell out of it to make it work. It's on again now. They have a live version on Amazon.
Nice.
So it's a hilarious show. It's a superhero parody.
Okay.
So the Tick is this big blue temple of justice, and he's a superhero, and there's all these other made-up superheroes. And in the comic book, they use these names that I guess he lost because they don't use them on the new show, but the names were hilarious. Deflator Mouse was the Batman character, and all these different things. And but it was a hilarious show. And so I was working on the cartoon, so I would watch the Saturday morning cartoon, and it's still funny.
Yeah.
And then when I went and read the comic, I mean, they're hilarious. There's just so much, even though they're comic books, there's so much more in them than we could possibly put on TV. And even the scripts, I was kind of part of the people that would read the scripts when the guy wrote them, and he was the comic book writer, and it was Saturday morning TV, so we'd have to scratch out. No, we can't do that.
Is this like a deer tick?
It was hilarious. No, it's hard to explain. He's a big blue temple of justice. He's a giant blue. He's this big, like, muscly guy in a blue suit who can leap buildings. He can't fly, but he can leap really far. He's extremely strong. You can't really kill him.
He's like the Hulk.
He does. He's kind of like the Hulk, but normal, not that big.
Yeah.
He's more like a giant person, and he doesn't know where he comes from, and he doesn't know where the suit came from. And
sounds a lot.
That
like
kind of slowly unfolds. In the show, and he's. I mean, he can speak and stuff, so he's not like the Hulk, but he can't. He's really. Well, I don't want to say stupid. He's really naive.
Yeah.
So it's really fun what happens because he's so naive. All he knows is good and bad, good and evil. That's all he knows. And
I swear all these superheroes are just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like they're just not stupid.
That's kind of the point of this.
They just act so heavily on their emotions and don't always like rationally think things out,
Yeah. And this is kind of the opposite, where he has no emotions. All he has is this one idea, basically.
Yeah.
Justice.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You should watch The Tick.
What was the original question again? I feel like
I lost it completely.
There.
Yeah. It's let's see. I'm going down here. Oh, it was just about your favorite podcasts.
Right.
Your favorite podcast.
Yeah. One last one I wanted to mention was Serial.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Oh, okay.
I haven't listened to it.
Listened to Serial.
I haven't listened to it,
dude.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, you should just probably cancel your plans for the next week or so.
Notes.
Well, they made a HBO. Speaking of HBO, you might need that password back because they made a documentary series about it too.
I'll get that from you.
Yeah, I can.
I will get that.
I think Zach's kind of given up on protecting his password at this point. So yeah.
So he doesn't figure that he can change it. He doesn't know how to do that.
Oh, he can. I think that he just knows that he'd be kind of. I think there'd be uproar if he did that. So
he'd be banned from Facebook and Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, I think a few people would stop talking to him. So,
just if you ever do start a podcast, this is something I read recently, which probably makes a lot of sense. I'm doing it, just so you know, I'm doing it all wrong. I'm in a my podcast is like millions of others, so I don't have a niche. So if you start something, that's why the sports podcasts, they probably do really well, because there's not as many of them. So if you start something like about sports, if you start a podcast about packing crates, then they would probably do better, because there's no other podcast about packing crates.
Yeah.
So just something
my
that I
issue
think is
like
interesting.
I can't just like boil my conversations down to one kind of specific genre.
That's my problem exactly. I mean, I have my overall view is to put a more positive message into the world, because I think there's a lot of negative messages in broadcasting right now, and they're there for a reason. And several podcasts I've listened to talk about this, where hate, anger, it sells right now. That's what's selling. So that's what people are pushing. So I'm trying to make a little corner of light in the world, and
I think that
not always happy thoughts, because I've had some depressing thoughts on the show, but try and put out more positive messages.
I'm behind that. I think that right now it's I hate to say things kind of suck as they are, but it's like everywhere I look, it's like the planet's dying, the president's an asshole, all true, but it's always good to have like a little bit of equilibrium there and balance.
It's good to have balance, and I think one of the things that makes people so angry about certain situations, I mean, people, in my opinion, people aren't angry enough about the global warming, but politically, it's just all about making people mad. And the weird thing is that the madder you make, the more likely you are to get votes, and that's terrible. Yeah. And it's why we might have to rely on something else to make the world a better place. We might need to. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm big. My dad was into politics. I've been into politics for way too long. I don't talk about politics on this show because it's. I don't know how to do it without going negative like in 30 seconds. I could rant. I could have the show just about politics. I wouldn't need any guests. I could just rant about it every day. But then I would have to watch politics every day. And it's almost to the point where it's unhealthy to participate in that.
It completely is. Yeah. Right now, so this term, when I came back to LCC, my communications teacher, Dan Henry, coaches the debate team. And so, he invited me to come by a debate practice because I told him that I'd love to debate things. And so I went by there, and we meet every Friday and kind of just, shout at each other about politics and current, events and issues. And it sucks that all of our policy debates and all of our kind of, philosophical debates and stuff, they all revolve around something that is like negatively occurring.
Right.
And that, what needs change, how can,
and what's really hard for elderly folks like myself is that, and you probably don't even realize, a lot of the issues you'll be debating about, we were debating about 30 years ago.
Sure.
And we thought, we all thought, oh, this will be done. Yeah. This will be we'll settle this.
Yeah. I mean,
and it just.
Well, looking at immigration, I mean, so immigration's big right now, but.
And that's a total bullshit.
Yeah.
That's a tactic to keep people from looking at real things.
Yeah.
That's not a real issue. It's something to keep people, take people's eye off the ball. But that's not a political podcast. Okay, next question.
Let's move on.
So you're talking about being a journalism. This is on my list of stuff. What would be like your dream job, or do you even know yet?
So speaking of Joe Rogan, I really like what he does. But I don't, it's just something that it's a field that I look at where I'm saying, okay, it's not too broad, but it's not too specific, where if you get a journalism degree, it can turn into a ton of things. You can go into podcasting, you can go into writing, you can go into investigative stuff. Did I mention broadcasting? No.
You did.
Well, a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, any degree can be taken anywhere. That's what people need to understand. It still helps to have a degree in journalism. You learn a lot about the world.
Sure.
Taking journalism stuff.
If you are looking into broadcasting, though, it's a little bit harder to, land a broadcasting position with like a philosophy degree or.
Well, not in Eugene.
Not in Eugene. That is true. That is true.
I keep wondering
not where we are
degree
currently.
they have when I look at certain journalists. I'm not going to say who. They're trying. It's hard. That's hard work.
Sure.
Any journalism.
How about mathematics or something? Even I bet someone with a math degree could. I don't know.
Mathematics is probably going to be, even now, and going to be one of the most sought after degrees there is, because mathematics relates to science, which there's not enough scientists. It relates to computers. Computers are math. People forget that. Yeah. It relates to all types of things. Global warming science. It's all it's all about math. But and you can always get 2 degrees or major, minor.
Sure.
However you want to do it.
However much money you want to borrow.
I also think it takes a lot of courage. It's true. Unfortunately. I think it also takes a lot of, it's a lot of work to go into journalism, and it takes a lot of courage. We need, in my opinion, a lot more people who are willing to take journalism a little further than most people do.
I think so.
Yeah.
And some people are.
It's a good one. There are people. Yeah. But it's getting more rare.
But to kind of answer your question though, as far as dream job goes, first the dream for me is just to have one job, not to have that one something that we're, not only have multiple incomes, but just have multiple pursuits, multiple things that I'm constantly trying to work towards or get better at. Or just, the more you do, the less you wait. So it's like, I really think that, just kind of trying out different stuff really is how we, like I said earlier, kind of trial and error is where we find our gold,
That's a really good way to look at things, and especially in the modern world, because a long, long time ago, people used to, when my parents had jobs, they all had like 30-year jobs, and that was the thing, is you work someplace for 25, 30 years and you retire and you play golf, but that's not how it works anymore.
That sounds so boring, dude.
It is, to me too. I've never, because I've been a struggling musician all my life, emphasis on struggling, I've had many different jobs. I've hated many different jobs, but it's still kind of nice that I had all those opportunities to try out different things. I would definitely encourage you to try out different things for both those reasons. If you have any kind of entrepreneurial spirit, then try starting as many businesses as you can. Because the podcast, I realized after I started it, it can just be nothing. It can just be for fun. But I quickly realized, this is a business.
Well, if enough people listen, advertisers will start hitting you up and saying, "Hey, can we say this on your thing?" Yep. But I don't know. As far as starting a podcast, though, it's not something that I would do with hopes of making money off of. It'd be a little bit more of a hobby.
Which I think is, I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, if you stay at it long enough, you may make money at it. And it's not a bad thing to start several things like that maybe someday could turn in. When Joe Rogan started, he had no inkling of making money on a podcast. It's now his number one source of income. He has others, but that's his number one thing.
And not to really toot this guy's horn too much, but I really think what he does is cool, where he is the host of the mixed martial arts, the UFC. He used to be the host of Fear Factor. He has his own podcast. He kind of does whatever the fuck people want him to do, or better put, he does whatever he wants to do. Well,
he does whatever he wants to do now as the MMA guy and as the host. He talks about this on his podcast. Doing those other things, that was a job.
Yeah,
he could not go on there and say, "Hey, you stupid ass contestants, go." But the job he has now is a dream job for him, because he is a hell of a talker. He's obviously really good at what he does.
Yeah.
But he can have whoever he wants on and say whatever he wants and sit there and smoke weed with
Elon,
which was like, no one else has done that.
That was badass, they were drinking whiskey too.
And, and if you listen, you really could pick you really could see like, oh, that is the mind of a genius.
Yeah.
We are sitting here listening. Yes, he might sound crazy right now because he really doesn't smoke pot.
Yeah.
But he's a freak, and his mind doesn't work like ours.
No, and what's so cool about listening to Elon is he'd take about 2 or 3 seconds after each question was asked before responding. And that's how you know he is really giving each response delicate thought, and you're getting like each thing that comes out of his mouth at that point is gold, where, you know, Joe would ask a question and then you'd kind of have this awkward 3 or 4 second silence. And then he'd respond, and it's like, this guy is not just talking, man. He's actually listening, and it's like his brain is like a machine or something, you know, like it's sort of like an algorithm or something. He hears the question and then he computes and then responds. And it just makes you wonder, God, is this how this guy just lives his life? Is this why he's so brilliant?
I think it is.
He's putting each and every thought is critical.
And it's hard, you know, I think he's a different type of being than most of us.
Yeah.
But that's a big part of it. Yeah. Each thought that's a good point. He really thought about his answers. Like, yeah, most of us just answer quickly.
Yeah.
Or just talk, just spew out, whatever. We have a tendency to want to fill up space, fill up air.
Yeah.
And he didn't really seem to have that tendency. Even when you see him in his presentations, he'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
He won't just like, oh, I got to fill up air. I got to talk. He will, you know, he will take his time to tell a story, which can be really boring, but also it's, you know,
he's not he's not saying random shit.
Right. You know, he's not just saying random shit. Exactly.
Thoughts,
he's saying
some serious, I don't know, effort.
Yeah. He's saying what he believes to be true, which is what we all do, I guess. We just don't know as much.
Yeah,
we just don't know as much. So I've just about ran out of questions. Any other questions about being on a podcast or podcasting, or actually anything, any random thing you want to? Well, you're a journalism major.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, so I just talked to an old writing teacher of mine. He works down at KLCC on 2 days a week or something. And I thought it'd be really cool to kind of maybe march down to KLCC and try to do like an internship over the summer, or, you know, maybe a little bit less an internship, just volunteer, whatever, kind of, you know, learn the ropes of radio DJing and kind of seeing, you know, watching all the technical tech guys like work the equipment and kind of get a idea of how this works. Even here in kind of your studio, I look at some of this stuff and I look at all these knobs and all these blinking lights, and just makes me realize that there's so much more going on, you know, than you really realize, because when you listen to these podcasts and radio or whatever else, it just sounds like a voice. But when you really see everything that goes into it, there's so much more to it. So
yeah, there's a lot going on most podcasts. There's very few that are just have 2 microphones and a recorder. There's a couple, but even at that, they usually spruce it up for the final version. And KLCC is a great place to check out because, for one, they're like it's all set. They're all always ready to record voice because that's what that's their thing. Yeah. So it's definitely a good idea to volunteer or see if you can get an internship.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be a sponge and just kind of soak up everything there. But
they have nicer mics than this. Yeah. Nothing against you, AKG, but they do.
So, what's your band situation right now? Are you guys?
Oh, I'm not doing any bands
right now.
No, unfortunately, I messed up my back, so I haven't been able to play drums for a couple of years. Yeah,
sorry to hear that, man.
They just sit here and And
I remember I don't think it was a Eugene celebration. I forget what it was. It was at that park right down there, kind of right underneath the Washington Jefferson Street Bridge. There was a big kind of like barter fair going on, and you know, it's right out there on the river.
Yeah, that was the replacement for the Eugene celebration.
That's what it was. Yeah. And I think it was a Left of Yellow set that you guys were. Was that Left of Yellow?
That was Left of Yellow.
Yeah. I remember really enjoying it.
Cool.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Cool. I loved that band. It ended suddenly, like most of my bands do.
Yeah.
It just, you know, one of the main people couldn't do it anymore for different reasons, and so it was very sad when it ended. But that was a fun gig. I love those big outdoor gigs. a blast for me because I can play as loud as I want.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about anything. And mic'd up drums, all that.
Yeah.
And just playing outside. I love playing outside. I know a lot of guitar players don't like playing outside because their guitar goes out of tune. And
yeah.
Different things, but
well, there's something about as a listener being outside too. I am a festival goer, and I'll be going to. I'm already kind of gearing up to go to. Well, I'll be at the fair. I go to the fair every year. I don't really consider that a festival though, but there's live outdoor music there, I guess. But I'm also gearing up to go to one called Shambhala in Canada, and it's all mostly electronic stuff, but there's some old like hip hop acts there and little kind of bands, I'm pretty sure. But it's all just built in outdoor stages. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, those are some of the best times, man. Like there's something about, I like checking out those acts outdoors so much better than going to like say the Wow Hall or the McDonald Theater, or if you're in Portland, the Wonder and the 45 and the Bossa Nova. Mm-hmm. It just feels so much different to be outside. You feel way less, not just claustrophobic, but like I guess I feel like it's easier to relax.
Oh yeah, it is. Outdoor festivals are awesome.
Yeah,
that's a good way to see music. For a sound engineer, the sound is not as good, but it's
sure.
Most people don't care. That's a funny thing about sound, is that most people don't care that much. That's what I'm saying about how this gear that we're playing with here, that I've talked about on podcasts, is really more than you need, because most people listening to podcasts just don't give a damn. I want to make it as good as possible, largely because I have engineering friends, and they're going to say, "What are you doing, man? The EQ on that mic was terrible," or whatever it is. Yeah, but the majority of people don't care. And I'm sure having you on the podcast, and once you share it with all your friends, then it'll double or triple in size. I will go from wherever I'm at to 30 or 40 people listening.
Yeah,
so,
I'll try. I'll do my best to put you on, dude. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a few sound geek friends too, and I'm like in between. Once I hear their, if we like to go listen to music together, and once I hear their spiel about why a certain speaker system is better, or how the sound is really affected by different kind of landscapes, once I have that information, I do recognize it, and it does, either enhance or kind of, kind of make the situation a little bit lesser. But depending on where we are,
right.
But
right.
But at the same time, you go listen to music to have fun and enjoy it.
It's true.
And whether the sound, whether it's the best speakers on the planet or like the fourth best speakers on the planet, is really not going to, burst my bubble.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to make that much difference.
It's not going to kill my time. No.
Right.
So, but once I know that we, if we're in the midst of listening to some music and really enjoying it, and then I learn that, hey, these are some of the best speakers in the world. It's that knowing that definitely can enhance the time, and make you think kind of differently about how that sound is approaching you.
Well, just always pretend they are.
I guess so.
Whatever festival you go to, I think those are the best speakers in the world.
Sometimes, once you know something, it can be a gift and a curse. Because I remember I went and listened to somebody at the Wow Hall, and it was just like, I was like, do they check these things before they turn them on? Like what?
Yeah, no.
I was like, these are not the Wow Hall has. I love the Wow Hall. First off, I shouldn't be ragging on them, but
yeah, I love the Wow Hall too. But I understand that the sound is not always stellar. The last time I played there, unfortunately, to a fairly empty house. We had an amazing sound person who really knew the system, so it sounded incredible.
Yeah,
but I know it can not always sound that way.
Yeah, and. Yeah, I was like, come on, Wow Hall, you guys have been doing this for a while. You guys should have a better setup here. And
it's hard. See, what happens is a band will come in with their own guy.
Yeah.
And that guy has never been in the Wow Hall, or he just thinks it needs to be too loud, because the Wow Hall's a room. The Wow Hall's a barn.
Yeah.
So if you turn a speaker up in a barn too loud, it's not going to sound good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how good the speaker is.
Yeah.
If you just crank it up a little too much,
Yeah.
it's going to sound terrible. And on the same token, if one instrument is a little bit off,
Yeah.
in a barn, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. But I have, on the other hand, I've heard it sound amazing. So it depends on who you got running the sound that day. It's really interesting. When you go to the Cuthbert, it's pretty much always going to sound good. They have really
the
nice,
Cuthbert's money, dude. I love that place.
It's awesome. I got to play there one time too, and that was a really fun. Unfortunately, it was a short set, but it was a really fun experience.
And they really have the perfect layout because they have room. They have room for every mood and every personality. So like they have that little carved out bowl for somebody if somebody's comfortable dancing in a pack, where they have limited room between each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you're comfortable doing that, or if you're in a really amped up mood and you just want to go mosh or push people around or whatever, you can go down there. But if you're feeling like you kind of want to relax and just enjoy whatever you're listening to and have your own space to kind of move around and not be bumping into people, they have all the grass. And then they kind of have the in-between area, which is right past the gravel heading down into the bowl. And so, and then they have the seats too. The seats kind of, at least every show that I go to, the seats serve little to no purpose because no one's sitting in them.
Because, I've gone to a couple shows where people were sitting down, but it was probably because it was older people. Yeah. Melissa Etheridge, there was a lot of people sitting, but there was, not for long.
Yeah.
Not for long. It's true. And the seats are uncomfortable.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I love sitting at music shows.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So me and my music listening
So you do good in
friends,
Canada. I heard that Canadians usually sit watching music.
I swear I'm like a closet Canadian.
That's it.
Everyone that I met in Hawaii from Canada were my favorite people.
That's interesting.
Something about Canada just gives me kind of the warm and fuzzies and good vibes all around.
Awesome. Yeah. Canada's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
Some good people.
Mm-hmm. So one last thing, did you so that the book, I'm looking for kind of a ton of kind of book suggestions. So you mentioned what was the name of the guy we were just talking about? Remind me.
Tim Ferriss? No.
That
was way
the one who you said was a show was made out of his
earlier.
Something about 20.
Catch-22.
Catch-22.
Catch-22. If you Google that, I can't remember the writer. It's because I don't think he wrote a lot of books. But that is a very, very famous book, and it was written in the 50s or 60s. It's about a bunch
James
of,
something?
It might be. I'll do the Joe Rogan trick. Wait, I'm not on the internet there. I'll pretend I'm a tech on the Joe Rogan show, or you could do that too.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can bring it.
We'll see. Okay, I know this is boring for listeners, but I'm looking up the book. See, now, the thing is, if I was live on the internet, then someone would have told me by now.
Yeah.
This will just take a second. It's just really boring. The movie's fine, whatever.
We can edit this, right?
No, Joseph Heller. Joseph Heller is the name. I tend not to edit because, one, I hate editing.
Yeah.
And two, this has been good.
Yeah,
it's been a really good podcast.
What do you do when you have to sneeze? Because I feel one coming on.
Just go ahead, just move away from the mic.
Okay, sweet.
And you already warned everyone. Yeah. Just kind of move away from the mic.
No editing, right?
Over here.
Well, it went away.
No, I
thought about
because you thought about it too much. Yeah. So Joseph Heller, it's a 1970s American black comedy.
Nice.
And I'm sorry, that's the movie. But it's about flyers in World War II. So it's about guys flying bombing missions in World War II, and it's really about the, it's about a lot of things, but it emphasizes the Army and how totally screwed up it is, and
nice,
and how hard it is to do that. But it's funny stuff. Yeah, you should watch the series first.
Yeah,
then read the book, because the book will may not ruin it. It's a pretty good series.
Okay.
So that's a good place.
Well, the reason I asked, I was kind of eager to bring up books because I know in the text I sent you with some information. I sent you the one that I'm reading right now called "Ego is the Enemy."
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I was kind of hopeful that you'd ask me about it, so let's pretend that you did.
So what about that book you sent me a text about, Ego is the Enemy?
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Here we are. Oh well, yeah. No, I'm kind of in the middle of it right now, and I'm pretty obsessed with it because it's a lot of it is ringing true. And I just kind of wrote down a few notes about it here, but it's one that I'm going to recommend to you.
Who wrote it?
Gosh, what the fuck is the guy's name? I don't know. It's in the text. It's in the text I sent you.
Oh, okay. That's all right. I'll look it up. I'll put it in.
We've spent enough time.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes
to find names for authors here.
No, that's why I have to have a crew.
Yeah, right. Sooner or later, but no. Well, it's written by a guy who actually had a lot of early onset success. He moved to Hollywood when he was like 21 and was writing and helping produce a lot of big time TV shows and stuff. And I think within a few years, he made a few $1 million, and then he just kind of floundered out. But the reason I also thought this would be kind of cool to bring up this book is because I found it through listening to a podcast. One that I forgot to mention, which is actually my favorite podcast. I listen to it every week. It's CJ McCollum's podcast. He's one of the Blazers. He's like one of the best players on the Blazers. He's my favorite player in the NBA. But he's got a weekly pod, and it's something that I really look up to because he's somebody who does multiple pursuits now. He plays professional basketball, and he has a really successful podcast. The podcast is obviously the podcast success is a bit of a byproduct of him being in the NBA.
Well, yeah, but he has a bit of a leg up there.
Yeah,
but what's it called? What's the name of his podcast?
The Pull Up Podcast.
The Pull Up.
Yeah. But he is also a journalism major, and he's somebody who's kind of influenced me to go into it. But he was kind of, over this last summer, he was raving about this book he just read called Ego is the Enemy. And so I went ahead and bought it. But yeah, I kind of wrote down a couple tidbits here. But pretty much the overall kind of why I think this book is really important, and it's really like rung true to me, and I think it would really hit a lot of people in an important place, is that the idea is that, like, our ego is pretty much, your ego is not something that's just attached to arrogant people. It's also attached to people who kind of hate themselves and aren't feeling very motivated, or feel like life isn't going their way, or they've got something kind of ruling against them. It's pretty much just any sense of self-inflation. So somebody who's having ego problems can be somebody who's a little too arrogant, or somebody who's having ego problems can be somebody who thinks that just kind of hates themselves and thinks that they suck, And I think that kind of idea and premise is really, really important for all kind of us, for everybody to kind of understand that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the idea is, like, just don't get too high and too low pretty much at any point in your life, and that your inflated sense of self is always going to be something that kind of comes back negative. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the fact, everyone has an ego.
Exactly. It's unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. You've got to have it. Mm-hmm. And Russell Brand talks a lot about ego in his podcast.
Yeah.
If you ever watch that, listen to him. He's gone through quite a journey. So his podcast his podcast is very spiritual oriented, and he talks about how he still has a massive ego, but he's working on that not being the main focus of his life, because it was the main focus of his life for a long time, and it got him in a lot of trouble. And it did lead to, to some big problems. And a lot of times, people that we think are egotistical, or that come across as egotistical, it's kind of like you were saying, that ego is not, they're not necessarily happy.
No, and it shouldn't be tied. It shouldn't be tied to arrogant people who,
right.
You look at somebody and you might think, wow, they have a really inflated sense of self, and they think, they just think they're the shit. But, through reading the book, I've kind of, it goes into some things, looking at people who nothing they do is ever good enough for themselves.
Right.
And people who are just never, like, I don't know, they're never, you might look at some of the most successful people in the world and they think that they suck.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and that's kind of I've heard that theme from a lot of extremely successful people, especially when you talk about actors and musicians. It's one of the things that drives them is you might think they have a big ego, but in fact they have their ego it's the kind of the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they never think they're good enough. They never think they're doing enough. And, you know, it's true with sometimes a lot of times with very driven people, and it can, you know, often be can be a big problem.
Yeah, and on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have people who do kind of suck, but they just think they're great, and they think that they are fantastic. The hottest piece of shit to ever walk the earth, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, I hate to mention the president, but he's kind of a good example of that, where he has had a lot of success, but he's done a lot of poor things, but I don't think he'll ever look at himself and say, you know, I can't do this, or I'm bad at this, or this could use some work.
Right.
You know?
Well, and according to a lot of us on the political side of the spectrum that I am on, he's a mental illness that, you know, it goes way beyond ego. It's that's a whole nother thing that I'll get to never, because this podcast is not what we do. I know. It's not what I do.
Yeah.
But
I need to stop going to debate practice.
Yeah. No, debate practice is good, I think, though. I think that's a really good
it's my outlet.
It's a good mind exercise too. It's just a good exercise for your mind. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up here.
Okay.
Thank
you for having me on, man.
I'll get there.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I thought we were there.
It's coming. Oh, my guest today has been Cameron Lindsey. Thanks for coming on the podcast. It was really awesome having you. I hope that you do start a podcast one day, because you're good at it.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to Were You Still Talking? This is Joel Albrecht with my special guest, Cameron Lindsey. And hope you come back soon. The next podcast, I rarely know who's going to be on next, but this time I do. It's going to be 4 people who've had a girls' night out going for I'll just say over 20 years. I know I'm pretty safe saying that. Okay, so we'll be back real soon, and be good to each other.